oh boy, we are so lucky that we love tennis, because tomorrow there's going to be two epic battles, and we're going to be covering the Stan Wawrinka versus Andy Murray semifinal rematch from last year, which was a very entertaining match, and they're going at it again. And so super exciting day tomorrow, Matt. What are you going to be doing tomorrow, I wonder? Huh, Matt?
I'm going to be waking up at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time and throwing the coffee on and settling in for what is a very highly anticipated semifinal that we're about to preview for you guys out there.
Very good. So are they first up? Is Stan and Andy, are they the first up tomorrow? Do you know?
That's correct. I believe the start time is 6:45 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 or 6:35, one or the other. But yeah, they're first up, and then not before 3:30 p.m. local. So I think that's what is it, 12:30 over here? Or I mean 9:30 a.m. start time, not before start time for Rafa's match.
Very cool. Now, one thing that I think is interesting, now I think everybody that loves tennis is into both of these semifinals, because Stan versus Andy is a marquee matchup, and I think it's a very interesting matchup, and I think a lot of people want to watch that match. And of course, Rafa versus Thiem, that's a no-brainer. People want to watch that too. But what was interesting about Andy and Stan's path to the semifinal was it was just very under the radar, right? I mean, and also Andy's was, people weren't very excited about him to win this tournament because he has had not the best year, disappointing results. And so I think that these players, it's probably the most quiet pathway to the semifinals either of them ever had. Am I wrong there? Am I misreading that? Or would you say that's pretty accurate?
I think it's just plain weird, Pete. It's just a strange time. I know some people, I don't want to say the word enjoyed, but they've just been like watching a train wreck, seeing the way Murray's kind of achieved the pinnacle of success. He got all the way to #1 last year. That's how he finished it. And then this year, it's been awful for him. And the same with Djokovic. And so I know, especially Federer fans are probably, I don't want to say enjoying it, but very interested in what's happening to these two guys. You know, last year was that Murray had never beat Stan on clay. He'd never even won a set against Stan. And from what I remember, he played incredible. He played the match of his life on clay. Obviously, you know, the dirt is not going to be Murray's best surface.
Yeah, absolutely. That is also one thing that's kind of weird, is Murray traditionally has not been great on clay, but he's got a lot of great clay court skills. He's consistent. He's a great mover. He's maybe not naturally the best mover on clay, but I mean, he moves well. He's got a lot of variety. He loves the touch. So, I mean, you would think that through the years he would have done better, but last year was kind of like his first breakthrough. He got all the way to the finals. And I think another reason why there hasn't been as much interest on the side of Andy and Stan with their draw is the fact that there were so many stories. You know, Rafa going for his 10th and coming in so hot. That's a huge story. Djokovic struggling, but then, you know, finding Andre Agassi, who is a legend, to be his coach. And everybody wanted to see if that could turn it around for him. The young gun Dominic Thiem, who I think has a beautiful game to watch. He's kind of like a hybrid Federer and Nadal, right? To where he's got this like very flashy game, but then it's very spinny and heavy as well. So I think that side of the draw just captured a lot of interest. But now everybody's interested, Matt. And I know that you've got some really cool stats on that board. So I want you to take it away for a little bit and break down what you see happening tomorrow.
Okay, well, the most important stats I'd have to say is Stan the man has not dropped a set all the way. Obviously, Nadal's done it too. Did you know, Pete, there was a third player in this draw who had not dropped a set until the quarterfinals, at least.
Who is that? Who is that?
That was the big man, Marin Cilic. He had not dropped a set until he rolled up against Stan straight sets as well. So Stan has not dropped a set against anyone, whereas Murray has really been struggling. We got to admit, Pete, this is a pretty easy draw for Murray, and I think that's one of the big reasons why he's made it this far. Now, you could say it's his way into form, but here's a very interesting stat. 43% on his second serve, not very good. He's winning less than half the point in the second serve, but he's returning 45%. This is the match against Nishikori. Look at Stan's numbers over here. 79% on the second serve is what Stan is doing. He's winning 65% on the first. That's okay. He's somehow doing better on his second serve. And Stan, in that last match against Cilic, who obviously we know is a great server, Stan won half of the return points somehow. Like, this is Super Stan. What's going on, Pete?
Well, he is Super Stan, and that's one thing that also makes it tough to bet against Stan when he gets this far in a tournament. One thing that's interesting about Stan is he can get so hot and become unstoppable to where it seems like the people that he plays against, when he gets really, really in the zone, that their ball doesn't seem to bother him. Like, nothing they do seems to bother him. He seems to be able to kind of bully people around with his heavy strokes. He can hit a winner out of anywhere on the court. You never know when Stan's going to hit a winner on you. And Stan is talking again like he is ready to win, because there was a quote I saw on Instagram on Midwest Sports, so I do their Tuesday tip of the week. I was looking at their Instagram today, and there was a quote from Stan, how he just says that he's feeling so good right now. He's feeling full confidence. So that is a good sign if you like Stan, because when Stan seems to go deep, he seems to finish the job. And one thing that's interesting, if you were to compare Murray's career to Stan's career, Murray has been consistently in that top 5, certainly over the long haul, more than Murray. And people always talk about the big 4, and they're usually talking about Murray being part of that big 4 for years. But Stan and Andy have the same amount of major championships, don't they? 3. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you make of that? I mean, Stan, and over the last couple of years, I think Stan has been the better player, but then Murray finished really strong. It's kind of weird. Like, Murray finished strong and he got to number 1, but I think over the last couple of years, Stan's had just stronger performances. What more impressive performances, I think. Who do you think's been the better player over the last couple of years?
Well, let's just look at last year, since Murray finished number 1, but Murray only picked up 1 major last year at Wimbledon, correct?
That is correct.
And Stan only picked up 1 major at the U.S. Open last year. Murray had the finals in the French Open last year, losing to Djokovic. I don't recall what either of them did at the Australian Open, but I'm guessing that Stan had a win and no finals, and Murray had a win in a final and did better in the Masters. And that's what got him to number 1 between their last, their 2016s.
Yeah, so maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and Murray has had a better time of it over the last couple of years. Murray's just so consistent. I guess it's just surprising when you see Stan get there, and then you see him play these legends, and he only gets 1 look at him in these major finals, and he shows up, he wins. I think one thing that is underrated again about Stan that a lot of people don't talk about is I remember watching Stan play Djokovic at the U.S. Open this year and thinking, Stan's a lot faster. He plays a lot better defense than I thought he did, and most people give him credit for. And also, I don't think in any of these epic battles that I can remember, when Stan gets deep into a tournament, that fatigue becomes a factor where you're like, well, Stan just got tired and kind of gave up. I don't see that happening from Stan. Do you? Do you see Stan ever get tired out there in big matches?
Well, Stan's got a friend who's got a really great trainer I've heard about, and Roger Federer's trainer. So maybe Stan gets a little help from him sometimes. But yeah, you're right. Stan is an Iron Man. He's tough. He's like a tank. You know what I mean? He takes a licking and keeps ticking. I don't ever see Stan looking fatigued, but I do think one thing that we got to point out about Stan in these finals, look at him. He was a major underdog in all these wins. No one thought he was going to beat Djokovic in that U.S. Open except for me, and that was really just because I didn't want Djokovic getting any closer to Federer's major count. So I was really just praying for Stan to win and didn't really believe it. No one thought he was going to beat Djokovic at the French Open in 2015, and no one thought he was going to win the Australian Open either. So he's a great underdog. He's the favorite in this match. Do you think that's going to be a factor, the fact that everyone's expecting him to blow Murray off of the court tomorrow?
I think that is a factor. I think that for a number of reasons. I think that Andy, when he's put his best efforts together, has also kind of been the underdog, like the rising star, and maybe once he became number one, he didn't really know how to handle that, and he's had a tough year. But now he's back in that underdog position, and I know Stan's favorite Andy's favorite sport is boxing. So I think he likes to kind of be that underdog boxer kind of mentality. So I think that this might be tough on Stan being the favorite, because he is. I think if you look at their games, and I think most people think Stan's going to win. But Andy, I saw an interview with him tonight. I was watching an interview, and Andy said that, he admitted he said in practice and matches, he said he was really in a bad way even 10 days ago. He said even on the court, but he said the last 4 or 5 days, he feels like even in practice, the ball feels different. It feels good again. He's feeling more confident on the court. So I think people better not be writing Andy off so quick. Matt, let me.
I think there's one other thing.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, please. No, okay. So I was going to say, I think there's one more thing going Murray's way, and that's Murray's the mixologist. To talk, take a reference from one of Pete's courses. Murray is the mixologist. What do you think the Cilic ball was like? Just bashing that thing over and over again, and Stan's happy to take that pace and send it back with interest. But Murray actually has the ability to go in there and give Stan a different looking ball every ball he sees. You know what I mean? You made the course, Pete. Yeah. He is the mixologist. I think he's going to give him the big mix. He's going to be very crafty out there.
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting take, that Andy does have so much variety, and when you're playing on clay, it will be harder for Stan to hit outright winners, but yet the clay does lead very well to people who have heavy balls. Clay is a great surface for people like Stan who can hit the ball really heavy. But it also is great for players like Andy who can take pace off the ball and make you get down low for one ball with a slice into the clay, and then roll another ball and then put some drop shots in there. So it will be interesting to see how Stan, knowing that he saw that last year, how is Stan's first step to the ball? If Stan starts to read Andy's cat and mouse game, and he gets to the ball quick, where maybe last year was thrown off and just a step slow to the ball and not really able to set it up in his strike zone and hit his big, heavy balls, that helped Andy. But he's probably ready for it this year, don't you think?
Well, I think his coach, Magnus Norman, is definitely putting the game plan together for him. They're looking at the tape from last year, at least the coaching team is. And that's definitely what Murray did last year. He was able to mix it up. Stan was never really able to get his feet under him and just play the way he wanted to. And I know Murray, Yvonne Lindell, it would be interesting to hear what Lindell's saying to Murray. I'd say that's probably the most interesting pep talk we'd like to hear. There's probably a fairy tale Uncle Tony speech given to Nadal. It's probably very heartwarming. But Yvonne Lindell is probably, look, you're going to get blown off the court tomorrow. This is what you got to do, and you got to know this game plan going into it.
Wow, interesting. I don't know if Vaughn would say you're going to get blown off the court tomorrow, but maybe. You know, one thing that's kind of interesting is I was watching an interview with Murray again before we did this broadcast, and Murray claims that Yvonne is only quiet for the cameras, that when they're together, he's quite talkative. He really loves to analyze matches and break down matches, that he's actually quite positive, but I think he's also no nonsense. So you might be right. You know, I think he certainly let him know the X's and O's and what he thinks is going to work and what's not going to work. One thing that might be interesting to see is if Yvonne's going to kind of go, because one thing that Yvonne did for Andy when he started to win, I think Wimbledon was the first one where he really broke through with Yvonne, is Andy started to go for his shots more. He started to bring the more firepower like Yvonne did when he played. So it'd be interesting to see if they kind of go with a different tactic this year, going, well, you know, Stan might think you're going to be pushing the ball around and mixing everything up. We're actually going to go out there and try and put him on defense. What do you think? You think they're going to play a different game plan this year, or you think it's going to be the same one that they know worked last year?
Well, I think Yvonne's definitely going to say, look, if you do anything like what you did in the first set against Nishikori and you just go out there and push the ball, you're going to get blown away by Stan. But I think it's important. You know, last year's win for Murray, he was mixing it up, but he was also not playing all defense, and he was stepping into the ball, and he was hitting it with some authority. So I think you're right. I think Yvonne is going to say you got to go in there and take it to him. But it's also important that they still mix it up and don't let Stan get into that rhythm. Just like in the Cilic match, you know, you keep seeing that same ball. You're not going to overpower Stan on the clay. Stan's going to overpower you on the clay. So Murray's going to have to walk this fine line, which when I get to my pick, really that explains it all to me. You know, this is a major ask for Murray to walk this fine line and be able to mix it up just right, but still step in and take it to him.
I think that's a pretty good analysis there, Matt. I think you're right. I think that Murray, one of the things that when Murray is not playing his best, they always talk about court position. They talk about how when Murray's not playing his best, maybe he falls a little too far off the court and that he gets a little too cute with his cat and mouse game. If you tennis players are out there and you hit a couple of good drop shots, it can become addictive. And you just love the idea of trying to toy with people and you know, finesse the ball around the court. And then also, if you get a little nervous, it becomes easy to kind of just go to a finesse game. Where Andy has, I think one of the things that Yvonne has done for him is Yvonne has said, look, we got to, you know, that's part of your game. You're really good at that, but you got to pick your spots to do that. And you got to stay on offense. And it is going to be tough to do that against Stan. So let's get to it. What is your pick? Let break it down for us. Who's going to win the match?
This is a really tough one to call how it's going to go, because this is something that's been interesting about Djokovic and Murray's struggles this year. You know, Djokovic, especially in that third set against Thiem, he just looked like he didn't have anything left. And, you know, you could argue that maybe his form has been even a little better than Murray. I mean, Murray's been playing some ugly ball. He's been, for Brad Gilbert, he's been winning ugly out there. But that's the thing, you know, like Murray still looks hungry, you know, when he gets angry and he starts yelling at the box. I like that. He's like Johnny Mack. It's not hurting him. You know, Djokovic just looked lost at sea. Whereas Murray, he's still fighting. And that's why I give Murray a chance. You know, he's going to go out there and he's going to fight and he's going to get angry and he's going to do everything he can think of to win. And I don't question him on that at all. I'm questioning Djokovic right now. So I think Stan's going to win. I think Stan's going to come out there and he's going to be able to do it. But I will not be surprised at all if Murray wins. So, God, I have a really hard time with this one, Pete. I hate to say what it's going to be, but I'll just go Stan in 4. It's the reverse of last year. But even after I say it, I feel like I could really, really be wrong on that one. What do you think, Pete?
I am going to go with Andy. I think Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised like you. I wouldn't be surprised if Stan won, but I think that Andy likes being written off. I think a little bit of pressure taken off of him is a good thing. I think you're absolutely right that Andy is still very hungry. I don't think motivation is a problem for him. I think that Djokovic, and this is not a knock on Djokovic, guys. The guy, he's one of the greatest players of all time, and when he's got a new family and he's just struggling to figure out, how deep does he want to dig anymore? That's not a knock on Djokovic, and whatever Djokovic decides, he's always going to be one of the greatest of all time, whether he's going to push and try and get back to the top or whether he just wants to take some time off or even retire. But I don't think Andy's in any kind of trouble like that. I think Andy, besides maybe not looking his best, just had a couple of like awkward matches too, where a couple of bad losses that he had were against Misha Zverev, who was coming into the net on everything. And when do you ever see a match like that? And the guy was on fire, and Andy could never get in his rhythm. And then also when he lost in Dubai, he also lost to someone who was coming to the net all the time on him as well. And so he lost to two net rushers early in tournaments. He's had injuries, so it always takes a little while to feel your game back after you have an injury. I think all those are gone. I think that it is good that the pressure is off of him, that even though he's the number one seed, people are not expecting him to win. Everybody's expecting Rafa to win. And I think most people are even expecting Stan to win. And so I think that's actually good for Andy. And I think that's going to give him more of like, I'll show you guys, it's me and Yvonne versus the world. And I think that he's just going to figure out a way to outfox Stan.
I think I want to change my prediction now. I think you sold me on it. I mean, you think of Stan, he's tough, right? He's won majors. He's great. But he's always the underdog when he wins. He's yet to win a major as the favorite, and he's going in as the favorite. And just like you said, Murray, me and Yvonne against the world, going in as the underdog now. I'll stick with it. Stan's going to win in 4. But, man, I'm almost more interested in that match. Also, it could be a total dud. Murray could go out there and just get destroyed.
I don't think any of these matches are going to be a dud. I think this is one of the best years in recent memory as far as so many storylines. I think we're going to have a great day tomorrow. And the cool thing is no matter who comes through, that's another thing too, which is good to see, that no matter who comes through, it's going to be an interesting final. If you've got a Nadal Wawrinka, people want to watch that. If you've got a Nadal Murray, people are going to want to tune in for that. If you've got a Thiem Murray or Stan, I mean, there's all good storylines. I think people are going to be excited. I think people are going to be watching, and that's great for tennis. Great for tennis. So tennis is in good place.
Question for you. I think there's more Nadal fans than Stan, Murray, or Thiem. So with that in mind, let's say you just got your heart set on Nadal winning number 10. Who does Nadal want to win? Obviously, he wants it to go 5 sets and last 5 hours, but who's the better matchup in the final for Nadal looking ahead?
That's a great question. That is a great question, and I think that Nadal would rather play Murray. I think Nadal would rather play Murray.
I think so too.
Because they have such a history together. He knows his game like the back of his hand. He's beaten him most of the time, and he probably still remembers when Stan gave it to him pretty good at the Australian Open final. I know Nadal, I think in the middle of the second set got hurt, but he was going to get blown off the court anyway that day. I mean, Stan was unstoppable. And I think that there's just more about Stan's game that would surprise Rafa. I think he can just hit winners in places that Murray's not going to. And I think also Rafa knows that Murray maybe even respects Rafa a little too much. I've seen an interview with Murray, and they said, well, who is the most competitive player ever? Like, who is the toughest competitor you've ever played? And he didn't even, he's like, Rafa's the toughest. He's like, out of anybody in the history of the game, Rafa's the toughest competitor. So when someone gives you that kind of compliment, it's a great compliment to get. And it's also nice to know that, hey, this guy's standing across the net from me. He feels like I'm an animal. So he's got to be a little intimidated by me. And that's a good thing if you're Rafa. So I think he'd rather play Andy. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think if this was going to be like the fairy tale Australian Open we had earlier this year, that's how it goes. Murray fights through and wows us all and serves it up for Nadal, who's going to be real tired after that 5-setter against Dominic Thiem. So it'll be just perfect to get the guy that respects him too much.
Wouldn't it be crazy if Andy won the whole thing? That'd be crazy. I mean, there's no way you would have picked that before the tournament. No way. But he's in
no
a
chance.
He'd
have the career Grand Slam if he did it too. It was a lot of storylines.
Wow. Didn't even think about that one. That's huge.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very huge.
That would be something he could hold over Stan, who's definitely not winning Wimbledon.
Yeah, and anytime you win all 4 majors, you are then remembered. You are remembered to do that. And I have said in the past that we've always talked about Andy, Joker, Federer, and Nadal as the big 4. But I thought, as history wears on, and you look at Roger with 18 and Rafa with 14 and Djokovic at 12 and then Murray at 3, I think as history goes on, you don't really think about the big 4 anymore. It's just about the big 3. But if he wins this, Matt, that's a great point. Now all of a sudden he's got all 4 majors. At least he's more memorable in the history of the game. So very good point.
Yeah, awesome stuff, Pete. Well, I know you get to bed pretty soon. We got a big match tomorrow.
Go to bed, yeah. It's time to go to bed. Everybody dream about tennis. Get up early. Turn on the TV. Make sure that you tune into Crunch Time Coaching and see our reactions. And definitely like our videos and subscribe to our channel. And make sure you check out our instruction too. I do lots of tennis instruction on the serve, forehand, volley, backhand. Matt does a lot of fitness instruction, so he'll get you in shape. And he also gives you some exercises to hit the ball harder and more consistent. So make sure you check him out as well. That's all I got, Matt.
Yeah. The tennis will speak for itself tomorrow. There's just really nothing else we can say.
There's nothing we can say. But good night. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you on future videos. Take care, everybody. Good night.